So in a brute force, the hacker's using a dictionary or a collection of keys, passwords, passphrases. They're using like a stockpile of anything, and they're just throwing it at the message, hoping that they're going to crack the code. They're hoping that they're going to figure it out. Brute force is it doesn't it's really one of the least effective exploits because it requires the most amount of effort, and it can require the most amount of time for the hacker to actually decipher the data or decipher the message. It nevertheless is still a considerably vulnerable exploit. Nevertheless, man in the middle, which showed over in the previous image, it's a person that is in the middle that's intercepting your messages and attempting to actually crack the code while they're getting these messages. So they're collecting all of the stuff that you're sending, all of the ciphertext, and at the same time they're trying to crack the code so that they can figure out what it is that's being said. In the last class, I used as an example Morse code back in the late 19th century. If you did not understand the language of Morse code, and you were in the middle of the wire between the person sending and the person receiving, all you would understand are beeps and dots and dashes. It would make absolutely no sense to you. Man in the middle in the 21st century, the concept's the same. You're in the middle. You don't have the key, so you don't understand the algorithm you could use in a similar manner to the language. So if you don't know the algorithm, you have no way of figuring out what's being sent. But in the man in the middle attack, that's a vulnerability because if that person knows the algorithm who's in the middle, that gives him access to everything that you're sending or everything that you're receiving. Um, the next one, ransomware. We've gone over this multiple times in the free boot camps. We've gone over it in some of our teasers as well. Ransomware is when the hacker essentially breaks in to an organization and is able to encrypt all of the information, all of the data they with using their own key, and then requiring the organization to pay a ransom in order to get their own data back. Um, Ransomware is by far one of the most widely deployed, widely used, widely known um, attacks that hackers continue to perform even to this day. We're gonna jump to a chosen ciphertext. This is where a hacker is able to find a commonality within the ciphertext. Now, remember, ciphertext, if we go back here, remember, a ciphertext is a otherwise random set of characters and letters and numbers. Now, in a ciphertext, chosen ciphertext, the hacker is able to look at this ciphertext and actually use it against the person that's sending the message, and they can figure out, um, let's say that they know that these letters, F, J, J equals the letter H, but in uppercase H. And then let's say that they see uppercase J, and they see that that equals a lowercase letter R. That means that they're going to take that and use that chosen ciphertext that's over here, and they'll start picking apart data and figuring out what actually is being sent from that. A chosen plain text is where they take part of a regular message and then they can essentially follow any ciphertext that follows, and it's the reverse essentially of chosen ciphertext. They can take the plain text and actually figure out what your encrypted messages look like as well. And then you have what's known as a known plain text. Known plain text is honestly the most dangerous because that means you had no key whatsoever, and the hacker essentially was able to determine what was known. So they could have figured it out through social engineering. They could have figured it out through some other documentation within the organization. Known plain text means that the hacker knows everything that is already there in the message. So this is going basically from the the attack that requires the most work up here, brute force, to the vulnerability or exploit that requires the least amount of work, which is a known plain text exploit. That means that the sender and or recipient have no type of security whatsoever. That's basically the same as it being an unencrypted transmission because the hacker is able to exploit that and get everything that they want. So in terms of the ability to decode specifically, decoding typically is is achieved through chosen ciphertext, through chosen plain text, um, and man-in-the-middle attacks are typically the three exploits um, that employ decoding encrypted text. The other ones are utilizing dictionary or library of passwords. They already know what the plain text is, or they break in and they actually get their hands on the data and encrypt it themselves. So these are the six typical exploit categories as it relates to algorithms. Any questions on it at this point?